Hey guys, it's Sugar, and I'm here with my husband Jeff.
Hello.
And Jeff reminded me that maybe we should do a mid-season kind of, not review, but kind of see where things are going, what we're doing.
Report card.
A
We're
report
both
card.
teachers.
Oh god.
Mid-season report card.
Report cards. Excuse me. As you can tell, I'm still in the midst of being sick, but that is what it is.
You soldier on. You're strong for your fans.
I try. So, what's the first one you want to speak of, my dear?
Well, I guess. Well, here's the thing: is I would just start off with like, well, this is what I obviously think is the best. I have a lot of things at a very high rating this season.
Jeff is the optimist. I am the pessimist.
But
or, in my view, the realist.
But well, you know what? How about we? I want to start off with the one where I'm turning around on it a little bit. And
you're backtracking.
No. But I feel like it's the one where we would have maybe the most disagreement on it.
What?
Black Clover.
What about it?
I'm coming around on it a little bit. We're what? We're 6 episodes in. It started rough. We commented on this on an earlier podcast. It started rough. It had really bad voice acting.
No, let's be clear. To make this very clear, there was one voice actor. There are several notable voices in there that do a really good job of what they do.
Yeah.
But the one we had a complaint with was the one who did Asta's voice.
The main character, the one who speaks the most.
He was a newbie. Well, he was a newbie. He didn't... he's never really done anything as far as I remember other than this. But yeah, you have a lot of talent here doing some of the other voices.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it's starting to come through, I guess, is where I'm starting to kind of turn around on it a little bit. I feel Asta as a character, I'm coming around on him a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
He working just against his best friend or brother, his rival, whoever. I don't like that dynamic a whole lot, but now that he in the show is part of like a new group and we're introducing a bunch of new characters, he works actually really well in there. So I'm coming around on it. The last episode was the best of the series so far, and I really enjoyed it. Like, I laughed a lot. It was funny. I
guess my problem, again, the voice acting is good for the majority. It's just the fact it was just Asta's voice. Because, like, even looking really quick, please don't think this is rude, because I don't know how to pronounce people's names very well. But, like, for example, Micah Solusod, I really like him as an English voice actor. He does I heard that Morgan Berry's also in there. She's doing one of the little kids. Like, there's lots of great voice talent. It's just my problem with the series is the fact that it just feels recycled.
It's derivative.
Yeah, and it's not bad, because retreading and stuff like that isn't bad. It's just the fact that I guess maybe there's a part of me that thought, like, okay, this is from the same people who had Naruto. I expect big things from it. So you have the cast, you have the members, you have the talent. You can make something big with this and be another kind of game changer, so to speak. I know it's limited in shonen because lots of things have already been done, but something that just kind of stuck out, where every time I see a scene, I'm like, that reminds me of the Akatsuki. That reminds me of Griffith from Berserk. That reminds me of this and this and this.
Yeah.
And it just, like, I hate feeling that way, because it's kind of like going off in another thing that's not about anime. It was like when Frozen came out. A lot of people liked it. Of course we watched it. I don't remember why. But it was just like, wow, this feels like a million things that Disney's has already done, and I'm not happy with it. Like, it's kind of that same feeling with Black Clover, because it's like, I feel like everything that it's doing has already been done. The characters, even the character designs, we've seen, like, the one of the leaders for the Knights looks like pretty close to Griffith, like from Berserk. Then some of the guys in the Bulls look like rough sketches that were pulled from, like, One Piece and things like that. I'm like, come on. Like,
and my coming around on it, I have it at a 7 and now.
It's not like the worst thing I've ever seen. That's not what I'm trying to say. It's just the fact that I expected more, I wanted more, they had the talent, and they kind of, I don't know why they chose the new voice actor for Asta, but that was kind of a bad choice from my perspective, but it's not bad. It's just the fact that I wanted something else than retread. And I expected something more, especially from the people who made Naruto.
I mean, the general consensus from the audience is the same. It has an average of 6.66 on my anime list, so definitely it's hard going at the start. And the thing is, with shonen, you are you are packed full of stuff that's fantastic that people haven't caught up on yet. Maybe like My Hero Academia season 2.
And that's the thing, like, a lot of people are like, oh,
brilliant.
My Hero Academia does retread too. And I'm like, yeah, but it does it in a way that it feels fresh.
It's additive. It adds to...
Like, I love everything about My Hero Academia. Like, I've been meaning to make a video, but my voice has been cruddy, and I've had to make scripts for other things, and yada, yada, yada. Excuses.
Life happens.
It happens. But really... I love My Hero Academia. There's so many things that work for it, and it's just like you can even feel the soul in the manga creator because it just feels so authentic. It's like from somebody who is a real fan of manga, a real fan of the shonen kind of genre.
A real fan of
Western
and
it's somebody who wants
well.
the viewer to get the most out of it, and you can see it from the animation, you can see it from the people that he hired, you can see it like every step of the way. It's just care and love and just good times. Like, I can't think of a part in the anime series where I'm like, oh, I really hated that. Or like, there's always something in some anime where like, they could have done without that arc, or they could have gone without this. And like, the video I'm intending to make is like, these are really important scenes that people have ragged on, but have a huge consequence, like in future arcs. Like, it's a big deal. But, getting off track, Black Clover isn't bad. It just isn't great. And I think that's the part that gives people the blow to the gut. Because I know some people are like, how could you say you hate Black Clover? And I'm like, whoa. I never once said I hated it. As far as I remember, I'm sure somewhere on tape I might have. But personally, I don't hate it. I just hate the fact that it's something less than what I wanted. And I know they're capable of more, and I wish they would have went further. And I know it's based on a manga, but even then, I was expecting more.
See, and I feel like the most recent episode, we're up to date, so episode 6. I feel like if it continues on that path, that's a good anime that will be worth the time. That's worth the investment. I didn't feel that way with the first 5 episodes. With episode 6,
that's the thing. That's
like,
the thing.
ooh.
That's what I've told people how many times. You shouldn't have to work to get to episode 5 or 6 to feel like you're getting something back. The first few episodes, you didn't really get anything. You got, like, some story, and every freaking episode, Jeff laughs at me because I do the loudest, like, groan you'll ever hear. Is, like, every time the episode starts, it talks about, like, the mage, and it was just, like, not the mage, the,
Wizard King.
And
what he did.
And what he did, and defeating, like, just every episode, I'm like, nobody cares. And if they do, they've heard it, like, from watching the other 6 episodes, because it's always fucking brought up. It's like, nobody cares. But, whatever. And they do recap, which is whatever. I have a pet peeve sometimes, especially when a lot of people now are watching things online, or getting them through Crunchyroll or whatever. I don't see the need to have recaps every single episode, but that's just my own personal preference. If it was, like, on weekly TV like we used to, well, that's different, you know, because it's like, what happened last week? Like, if we miss even watching for a while, yeah, that's helpful, but, like, for the majority of the time with Black Clover, it's, like, pretty slow pacing, so it's like, it's the same thing that's been happening since episode 1. We're trying to get...
The one thing I'm going to give it some credit for is that it's already, I think, slated for more episodes than My Hero Academia has currently. So,
but there's different circumstance to why they have more episodes.
I think they are taking it maybe, I don't know if it's a bit too slow. Definitely the first 4
I haven't
episodes,
read the manga, so I can't comment on that, but
the first 4 episodes
slower.
felt slow. But when you know you've got 51 episodes coming, you can kind of afford to take it a little slower. Either way, out of what we're watching regularly, that's my lowest rated one. And
I can say, guessing it's probably my lowest rated one if I did rate anything at this point. Yeah, but as you know, I don't.
It just hit a 7 for me. I was at a 6 before, and I was like, oh, this was good.
There's some decent aspects, like there's characters that you want to get involved with, but...
I like the unique aspects of how they use their magic, and I think there's a lot that can happen there.
Yeah.
The fact that in the most recent episode we had somebody who uses their magic as if they were a baseball player. So he literally produces a bat that's made out of fire and then uses it to hit fireballs at his opponents.
That's Magna.
And yeah, he also...
and of course his last name is Swing because...
well, who knows if that's really his last name? They could make up
well, that's
names.
what he's slotted as.
Yeah.
So.
But, I don't know. I think that there's a lot of ingenuity that can come out of that. So we'll see what happens.
See.
But yeah, so far I have that at a 7. It's getting better. I did enjoy episode 6. Before that, I will say that I didn't hate it, but I wasn't... it wasn't an aspect where I was like, oh my god, this came out, we have to watch it. Unlike a lot of the anime we're watching this season. Yeah.
I guess it's more like enjoyment when I'm like waiting for other episodes to come out. I'm like, oh, I can't wait. Like, I know I'm just waiting now. I'm like anxiously looking over where it's like, I can't wait for the next one of like the Ancient Magus' Bride. I'm so excited. And then like when Jeff's like, oh, we should watch Black Clover. It's like, I guess so. Like, it's like, I do want to know what happens, and I don't want to be like that, like just a pissy mood of being like, it's crap, so it's crap. And it's like, I want to give it a chance. I really do. It's just, it's like when you have like a Christmas present and you open it up and it sucks and you're like, thanks, I guess. Like, you want to be happy about it. You want to be grateful, but it's just kind of underwhelming.
Well, I mean,
don't get me wrong.
since you mentioned it within talking about Black Clover,
the Ancient Magus'
we could
Bride.
go to what I think probably is your
It's my
your
favorite.
highest rated for this season. It's the Ancient Magus' Bride. Our last podcast we had mentioned that we were going to catch up.
Yeah.
And we have. We haven't watched the most recent episode. We're going to probably do that like right after we're done recording.
Yeah.
But yeah, we are up to episode 5 with that. It's one of the highest for the season. It is the highest out of what we're watching on MAL. It's at an 8.57. I personally have it as a 9, which I have a few 9s because it's been a good season. So then what about it? What about it is making you your heart grow three
like,
sizes too big today?
Well, it's like personally, I said a little bit of it in the first impressions. I love that it's a lot like Harry Potter. We watch it, I think, every year without fail, at least once on Christmas. Just how it happens. And, like, I love the show so much. I love that creativity, the fantasticalness of the world. I love, like, everything. I love that just, like, things are magic. And I just love it. Like, even the OVAs, like, I don't want to give it away, but if you haven't watched the OVAs, go watch it. They were really good.
Yes.
There's lots of times I can't
good.
say that about a series where the OVA is just kind of extra crap. Where it was like, it was really good. And it made me almost cry. And I know I'm bad for a weeper, but it was so good. Like, it was like this very like concise story that it wanted to tell.
Yeah.
And it did it well. And I was like, that was so lovely.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's exceptionally well told. The only negatives I can really point to it at this point is that they are taking it very slow in revealing information.
Yeah,
now
I feel that's intentional.
It's intentional to keep us
in the dark her.
As much as with the main character. But beyond that, I mean, I feel like the performance that is given. We're watching the Japanese. We watched the first episode as well, dubbed.
Yeah.
We like the sub better, mainly due to the voice of the Magus, because that's like creamery butter.
It's again, don't. I'm sorry if I say his name incorrectly, but I love his voice so much. Ryota Takeuchi. And oh my god, his voice is just, if I could have my life narrated. So.
Are you sure it wouldn't be Sam Elliott?
Oh, I have a thing for Sam Elliott, but that's not to do with anime. But
no, I just said voices in general.
I love the deeper register voices like Christopher Sabat, him, like I just love those deeper, thicker voices. That just makes it sound so delicious.
and the great thing about his performance so far is that lots of people. I don't know if I've mentioned it on the podcast before. I used to be on radio, so
You have mentioned it before.
I tend
humble brag.
No,
Just
not
kidding.
humble brag. But it's just you start to catch things when you've also made a career out of your voice.
Right.
And a lot of people who have a lower register sometimes have difficulties emoting beyond that.
Oh, it's so delicious.
And he plays like he could play a very mischievous character within the same register. Like, and it works really well.
I love that.
Lots of times it sounds like, he's just trying to sound cute. And it's like, no, he legitimately kind of sounds adorable at times and playful. And then other times he sounds very commanding and threatening. And, whoa, let's not mess with him.
And that's the thing, I shouldn't say a lot of people, some people with deeper registers have a hard time kind of fluctuating that tone to kind of get that across, but he does it really well. Like, I showed it in the first impressions, is like when they changed like his kind of playfulness with the animation, and it's something along the lines of like, I really have no choice if I don't want to do this, right? He's like, no.
Yeah, and the creature work is fantastic. That's one of the things, like when you bring up Harry Potter, one of the things that I really actually loved about Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, where I was very worried that I was like, well, this is just going to feel tacked on. But it was the creature work. It was opening up this world to more than, it's not just like, oh, we've got like wizards and witches and we've got people using magic. We have magical beings.
Yeah.
And they are a huge part of the early part of the series thus far. But it's been tiny little arcs. Like, it seems like 2 or 3 episode arcs, and then they move on. But they've all been very interesting. They've all been very informative.
And that's the thing I like, is that with the people or the creatures that have been introduced and had like a speaking role, they kind of have their own personality. It's not like, oh, they're there to fill time and, just be cute. It's like, each one of them I found, like, just like, even if it was for a few seconds, I felt like an attachment to them, where like, they were playful, they were cheeky, they were, they all had their own kind of personalities, even just for a few seconds, and that was kind of delightful to watch, because even them interacting with like humans and mages and other things like that, they have different kind of tones with them, because they have different respect for them, and I just found it delightful. And yeah, Jeff was saying we've been watching the sub over the dub, just because another kind of newer voice actress, Danny Chambers, has been voicing Chise, and it's not bad dub. It's just the fact when, like, sometimes when she gets excited or gets worked up in the role, she hits, like, kind of like a squealy tone. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, I tried to show a clip of it on the first impressions, and some people didn't completely understand what I was getting at. But it's kind of just a tone in her voice when she's pleasant to listen to, but when she gets worked up in that role or gets kind of those higher notes, it gets kind of squealy or screechy. Yeah. Which kind of takes away from the pleasant mood that already kind of exists with the subtitles. And
that's, I mean, you like one performance over another, and that's perfully all right.
Yeah. I'm not saying it's bad. Yeah. Definitely not. But not like Asta levels of bad. No.
So that's at an 8.57, again, on my anime list. Out of what we're watching, it's the highest rated. Just speaking of ones that are highly rated, we're not watching...
Food Wars,
the third season of Food Wars. So I think this is rated just below that in the season. So definitely we're not the only ones who are really liking that.
I think last time I checked it was Gintama, then this, and then Food Wars.
Right. That's a little...
Gintama, as far as I've heard, is really good. It's kind of like One Piece, where there's so much.
It's intimidating.
It's intimidating to start, especially when I have so many other things to kind of keep tabs on. I'm hearing it's good. It's kind of like a parody sort of thing, but I can't talk too much on it because I don't know a lot. But
so that is what you're thinking is probably going to be your show of the...
It's my show of the season.
I don't know for sure what mine's going to be, because I have 4 9s on here. Like, we've got really good...
You're so optimistic.
We've got really good anime right now.
We've got some good anime this season.
I suppose... We were talking about Children of the Whales.
I was about to say, let's talk about your feeling last night. And you were we were going to do a podcast on it, but I thought maybe Jeff was a little too revved up. So we were talking about Children of the Whales, and Jeff said to me, he looked over to me and said, you know how we made a girls' last tour and it deserves a higher score. And I said, yeah, I remember. We did the podcast and, yada, yada, yada. And I said, why? And he said, well, I think we should make one about Children of the Whales. And I said, well, I don't agree. And then I was like, what?
It's very rare that you and I don't see eye to eye on
I'll just
anime.
be clear on that, because the fact of the matter is, I said, I can see a difference between Children of the Whales and Girls' Last Tour. And he asked me what that was. And I said, it's not that Children of the Whales isn't good, per se. It's the fact that, it's like I've told all of you in, like, private conversations or via chatting online, is that episodes will give you signs that it'll be good or bad. And it also, you look for anime that has promises. And that they keep those promises, or they intend to follow up with them. With Children of the Whales, you have a lot of nice things, but there's no promise of what's coming. Like, even now we're on episode 5, 6?
We're finished 5 episodes. I believe I think it's Sundays we get to watch that. So
Me being in a fog, being sick, I'm kind of off with the schedule. But, okay, so we finished 5. And even in that period of 5, without spoiling anything, we've gone to one extreme to the next. Which doesn't tell us what consistently the viewer can be kind of sitting there and ready to watch. Where it's different with, like, Girls' Last Tour, you know what you're getting. Every episode will be them making it through the landscape, trying to make it survive, and learning very philosophical facts, and kind of exploring that mentality. And that's what you'll get every episode. You can almost be guaranteed. With Children of the Whales, we're given, like, a basic outline of what the show is in the first episode. But even now, we're up to episode 5, and we're just getting some backstory now, which isn't the best sign for, having a concise and conclusive ending, or having things that are kind of wrapped up, or anything of that nature, because it's given us one thing in the first episode, and then as the episodes have gone on, it's just kind of compiled other things that weren't promised. So it's hard to say these things without, like, giving you things, but I don't want to spoil it, but it kind of goes all over. And I can see why people wouldn't feel as attached to Children of the Whales, because it's not clear of what it wants to be or what it intends to be. Whereas, like, the Ancient Magus' Bride is just like, this is magical. We will be doing magical things. It'll be fantastic. And everyone's like, I'm on board with that. I like Harry Potter. This is accessible to me. I get it. Where Children of the Whales, it's so many things, and it hasn't promised anything.
And I don't 100% agree with that notion, but I get...
What don't you agree with?
I think that when we're talking about promises and whatnot, the thing that I feel like it's promised the most, and it's actually delivered on quite a bit, was that this is the main... For those... I'm not going to do spoilers, but the main character is essentially a historian.
Yes.
Let's say that.
Archivist,
they're chronicling what's happening.
Right.
And he basically said right off the start, he was like, this is essentially how everything went, to be somewhat crass, went to shit. Mm-hmm. And that has totally been delivered.
But then I said again, when you brought up that point, it's a loose promise. Making it that, like, we know we're following the main characters, so we're following their stories, so that's a loose promise. It's like saying, well, we're going to go on an adventure. Of course we are. We're following you. What the hell else are we supposed to do? It's the same thing. We're going to watch the history of what's happening. So we're forced in that position. So it's a very weak promise. Other than that, we don't get other promises until, like, episodes in, where it's like, okay, within a few days, this should happen. And
but,
it's like,
I guess
it either will or it won't.
Perhaps that's the more optimistic one.
Yes, Jeff is the optimist.
That, you know what? So far, I have been at... What I could say is I've been at the edge of my seat every single episode. I've been really involved. Now, part of that might be the story does get political. It talks essentially about, in a lot of ways, like, about bigotry and racism and lots of, like, religious undertones. And there's lots going on. So the word that you chose earlier, which I totally agree with, is accessibility. This is not as accessible a show as a lot of other ones. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to come across like I'm some hoity-toity...
This is the second time you brought that up. You're like, I'm not handmaid's.
I'm really not hoity-toity like that. But at the same point, I have a degree in political studies. Like, it's something that I'm really invested.
And that's the thing. Every anime, you'll find a fan that got attached for some reason or another. But for the mass majority, it's harder to get that attachment.
To be fair to it, it's at a 7.75 on MAL. So
and like I said, that's why I was like, I don't
okay.
see a need to make a video about it. It's doing okay. It's not like it's
actually
like
doing
despised.
Better than Girls Last Tour, which kind of surprises me too. So yeah,
Again,
I have Children of the Whales at a 9. First of all, I think visually speaking, it is exceptionally unique. It's very pretty. That's something to behold. I feel like all of the performances are fairly strong.
Really good.
I feel like characterization is really good. I feel like the mystery of what's happening is really interesting to me.
Yeah, well, that's what I talked about in my first impressions, where you're like, I don't know, it doesn't promise a lot, but what it baits you with makes you stick around, because you're like, well, if that is true, what is the answer? Like, I want to know what the answer is, because I also, a historian, would like to know.
To give it credit, and yes, you shouldn't have to watch 5 episodes before, you feel like your time has been spent well. Episode 5 is a turning point for this series. Mm-hmm. That is, and this, I feel like the same thing for our number one anime of all time, Steins Gate. You really have to hit episodes 4 and 5 to hit that point.
I find Steins Gate is a bit of an exception, because not in the sense of to the rule per se, but in the sense that once you watch the entire thing, you understand why the first 3 were important.
Yes.
Where I don't find a lot of anime do that. It's just like, the first 3 can sometimes just be really bad, and then they go into it.
And I don't think that the first 4 episodes of Children of the Whale was bad. No. Perhaps it spent a lot of time kind of shocking you.
That's the thing. It's like, okay,
to explaining why this is shocking. You're just like, oh my, what in the world is happening?
And that's what I was saying in the video. Yeah. It's like very fast paced at points, because you're like, okay, this is a perfect time to explain this. So like, no, wait, we're gonna do this because we know you want to see this part. I'm like, I'd like to get some more details on the thing. Let's go back there.
Let me know history.
It's the thing, especially since I'm a historical kind of person, like sitting there and being like, what does he mean? And they're like, well, we'll go do this. I'm like, no, please go back. You had a whole book. You had books. There was time now.
And I almost, in some ways, I kind of appreciate that. I appreciate that
they're not
around? A little bit. Not even skipping around, but like, They know that they have you, mm-hmm. and so that's when they choose to do something unique.
I guess it's also like a fine line between doing something unique and jerking you around. I'm not saying that's what's happening, but it's fitting a fine line of like...
So then I'm intrigued, because you normally don't rate things while they're ongoing.
I never do.
What would you rate this currently?
Right now?
Yeah.
If I could give partial marks, I'd probably do a 7.5.
Okay.
Because, like I said, there's lots of things going for it, and there's other things not going for it. I think it's beautiful. Like, if you haven't seen it, I can post in the comments below my first impressions. The characters are beautiful. They're delicate. They're muted. The background is very detailed, rough, and it's beautiful to look at. Kind of the story itself is an interesting concept, and the questions that are posed are very interesting. Where it plans to go is even more interesting, even though we don't have those promises, which is kind of one of those things that's a letdown. But yeah, overall, I am excited about it, and that's why I keep watching, and the music is beautiful. But again, it's kind of fast-paced at points where I wish it would kind of linger. And I feel like...
I can see pacing being a bit of an issue for some people. It's fast sometimes when it should slow down, mm-hmm. and then it's slow when you're like no, like,
come on, let's get to it. Yeah.
Give it to me.
That's the thing.
Give it to me.
That's why I feel like it's kind of guilty, where I'm like, okay, you have this moment to kind of explore this topic and term, and like, let's thoroughly flesh it out. And they're like, no, we should do this, and then we'll come back. And I'm like, shit. It's like, it's now next episode. I was like, God damn it.
Yeah. I really like it. If it delivers, I think it might end up being my show of the season, depending on how it delivers for the remaining episodes.
And that's what I called early season, because like based on what it was showing, I figured that it would be up your alley, but we'll see. I don't think it'll beat up Magus' Bride for me because of reasons.
No, I don't know if much will.
We'll
I guess
see.
we were talking about Girls' Last Tour as well,
Mm-hmm.
and we've already made a bit of a video about Girls'
Video,
Last Tour and
podcast.
the fact that it isn't hitting as much of the audience as we kind of thought it would. I get it. Accessibility can be an issue, especially like the very first episode. It does not really. It doesn't ease you into anything. It's very deep, very thought-provoking kind of stuff that's happening.
And at times,
in between times that are quite slow and not a lot is really happening. At this point now, 6 episodes in, definitely we've had some more dynamic things happen. So that's really neat.
I really loved the last episode. It
oh,
almost
yeah.
made me cry. Almost. I know, like, I'm notorious for being a weeper. But I really love, which isn't for everybody, which I completely understand. I know one of the viewers, I had a chat with them, said it was boring. And I can get that, because if you're looking for something more fast-paced and you don't feel like kind of digging deeper into kind of the meaning, especially like Jeff and I being historical, political sort of thing, some of the conversations they have kind of seem very simplistic, which we mentioned, and it's just very philosophical and deep. And even this last episode talking about helplessness, and it seems like such a clear topic already, and yet it goes further in explaining how you can be deeper in helplessness, which was very deep. But it's not for everybody, and I get that. But I find it's a very sweet, delightful, simplistic anime. And I love how kind of it kind of like reminds me of Death Parade, where like the intro and outro kind of are different from what we kind of have encased in our anime. Where the beginning is very cute and the ending is very sweet and funny and kind of playful.
Yeah, we've got a non-anime friend. I'll call him Muscular Jesus. And
we say that because he looks like Muscular Jesus, like
with
honest
dreads.
to good not.
A
Yeah,
Muscular Jesus with
Muscular
dreads.
Jesus.
And I showed him the. He was just talking about, like what music have you been listening to lately? And I said, I really like this intro from anime, and we did the intro for Inuyashiki. And he was like, oh, that was really cool. Like, what else is happening in anime? Because he's kind of a passive. He's a passive fan of anime.
Yeah, kind of something.
He likes
comes
a
up.
lot of the big name stuff.
Yeah.
If I tell him like this is phenomenal, he will take the time
and watch
it. And then I was like, how about this? So then I showed him the opening for Girls' Last Tour, and he was like, I feel so happy now. And I was like, yeah, you don't necessarily feel that way after every episode.
Yeah, no.
You don't ever feel downcast or depressed or anything like
No.
that either.
It's just very
poignant.
I was about to say the word poignant. I was like, it's very clear on what it wants to say. It's concise, and it can be very pleasant, or it can be very, like, sad. And not, like, the last episode, I think, was one of the ones where it almost got me because of reasons I won't get into. But, like, just conversations where, like, that was deep. And you're like, that was really hard. And, I don't know, I kind of like...
It's powerful.
It's powerful. It's very clear on what it wants to get across, and it's so interesting how somebody can make it so clear within like 3 sentences. You know what I mean? Especially, I think the episode. I want to say the episode before last, but basically when I'm gonna say the lights were out, I'll say that. You'll know what I mean. That was a very deep, within like 3 or 4 sentences. I was like, holy crow, like if that's the way it is, holy doodle. I try not to swear. Holy doodles.
Holy doodle.
But yeah.
Yeah. Every episode has had at least one moment where you're sitting there kind of watching, and then you do that thing where you kind of kick yourself back a bit, and you're like, holy damn, like wow.
Yeah.
So again, it's one of my 9s. If 2 of the other ones don't like really
Perform.
blow me away with how the season ends, this might be my show of the season.
It's very consistent. It knows what it wants.
This is a consistent 9. It's just other things could become like a 9.5 if they perform really well. Yeah, I love Girls' Last Tour. It's love the unique contrast of having these very cute character animations and interactions, but yet across a very, very cold, very
unforgiving.
Yeah, very unforgiving sort of
environment.
Yeah, world. It's very effective. The music has always been absolutely
so
excellent.
Good. It's
the
like if you just listen.
The last episode was the water drops. So
no, oh right, second last.
Yeah.
No, it was second last.
Episode.
No, it wasn't.
I think the darkness was I think darkness
3 episodes
was episode 4, and then 5 was the water drops, and then 6, the one we just watched,
right,
was 6.
Right. That's what I was saying. It wasn't the last one. It was the one before the last. Anyways, it doesn't matter.
The water drops.
On episode 5, basically music is had with water drops, and it's delightful. But just in the music they use to overlay with like very intense scenes or very like emotionally driven scenes is beautiful.
And they also effectively use like silence.
Yes,
which a lot
I appreciate
of
that.
Doesn't
They're terrified of using silence.
Yeah.
Like a lot of them don't know what to do. They're like, well, we have to have music playing over. And one of like the greatest examples, which I think I've brought up before, yes, is between Obito and Kakashi when they're fighting, and it's just silence. I was like, that's so clear, like how serious this is.
I thought you were gonna bring up Naruto versus Sasuke at the end.
Well, that too. Like they turn off. It
echoes the same thing.
Exactly. Where it's like this is how intense it is and how raw it is and how like serious.
We want
like this
you
is
to
it.
Hear these two
like hitting.
fight.
Yeah, you
what
see
what they hear, not a grandiose orchestra that's like propelling this to the heavens or anything. It's
and that's
just
sometimes
this is what they're hearing. They're hearing flesh upon flesh. And that's it.
I sometimes find that's a little bit of a cheat. Like, you can also use the example of, like, scary movies where the music makes you feel a certain way.
Yeah.
Whereas with this, it was just like, this is what we'd been waiting for. This is what we'd been sitting and waiting. And then it's like, this is it. And you're, like, waiting. It's just silence. And you're, like, just sitting there on bated breath, like, edge of your seat. You're like, what will the outcome be? You're like, I'm sure I can imagine who it will be. But, like, you're just sitting there and you're like, holy shit. Like, it is, like... Naruto has always had really good fight sequences, but like just being brave enough for some anime series and using it properly is silence, where it's just like that cut deeper than I thought it would, because it's just like that lingering silence of like holy Toledo's, which I really super appreciate. But
it's excellent.
It is so good.
The only thing you really need to know about, because the more we tell you, the more potential there is for us spoiling particular episodes.
We
and
won't
this
say
is one
anymore.
where spoilers would ruin an episode.
Yeah.
Like
that's why I just said one word as like lights, and you're like raindrops, and I was like, okay, done. We don't need it anymore.
Nothing else. So yeah, Girls Last Tour. I have it at a 9. I assume you have it.
If I had
to guess, it's like an 8, 8.5 right now.
Yeah, you would nailed it.
I guess before we go to my other 9, I want to go with one where I'm 100% with the rest of the audience. They gave it a 7.08. I give it a 7. It makes me happy.
Konohana Kitan.
Konohana Kitan.
Yeah.
It's just adorable. It's sweet.
It's cute.
It's charming.
I love that they had
7. Like
I always love when people do this, whether it be an anime or not. They had like a Halloween episode, and I loved it. Loved it.
And the thing I appreciate about it the most, like none of what it does is it doesn't reinvent the wheel. It knows exactly what its niche is. It knows exactly what it's going for.
It's a good time.
It makes use of like Japanese mythology very well.
Yeah,
and it explains certain things in a way that makes it a little bit more accessible than I'm going to read this Wikipedia article. No, instead it kind of makes a story out of that. Like I said, all the characters are cliches of the genre. Yeah. That's fine. It's gorgeous to look at.
Yeah.
Would be one of the things.
The voices are very sweet and tender to the roles that they're playing. Really, it's the guests at the inn are great. Secondary, tertiary characters are enjoyable to watch.
Yeah, Konohana I think, something like that is the name of the place.
Yeah, Konohana. It's just delightful to watch. And if you're looking for like a happy-go-lucky thing, this is it. Like there was one episode that was kind of odd, but it was still okay. I'm talking about the egg episode.
Oh, the egg.
It was a little odd.
Again, that must be something in Japanese mythology that explains that. Yeah, it's a 7, and sometimes a 7 is exactly what you need. You don't need every.
Yeah.
You don't need the heavy
and that's
the like, oh my god, like this is so emotional, this is so strong. It's just like, makes you feel good in the end.
Makes you
good. Smile.
Yeah.
It's a 7. The MAL has it at a 7.08. I have it as a 7 as well so far. Cool.
It is delightful.
We have not been keeping up with Kino No Tabi, so we won't really be talking about that.
Yeah, sorry.
It's not an issue of quality. It's just an issue of how many hours you have in the day.
Basically. And there have been times I've been able to like watch it if I wanted to, but I know Jeff would want to watch it too, so I haven't. So I've been watching other things, but. And
again, when it comes to me especially, video games take up time. Mario Odyssey came out.
Jeff
South Park Fractured But Whole came out. So it's almost a miracle I've kept up with as much as I have.
Yeah, and
I've been trying really hard this season.
I played 2 or so. I think I wrapped it in like 2 or 3 days. Was the newest Professor Layton game with Catriel. Oh, yeah. I was not impressed, but that's for another time.
They've got an anime series coming out with Professor Layton.
I'm so excited. I want to cry. I'm so happy. I have played every single one of the games except for I think there was an app or something for it on the phone. Oh, that was actually Catriel started that way. So you've played that one too. Oh, was it too? Okay. Well, I played that, but I mean the one with his son.
No, his brother. I think
no, his son.
Brother. Oh, that might be Japan only.
Might be.
I don't think it can.
Anyways, if I can't get my hands on it, that's why I haven't played it. But I played all the other ones. I love it. Unwanted Future made me bawl every time I see it. It makes me bawl.
There's, you know what? I'll let you talk about a couple that I haven't been keeping up with that you've been going at. I'm familiar with both of them, and well, let's not keep it in suspense. With Boruto, I did watch I watched a couple of episodes with you that had interesting stuff happening that seemed more in line with the manga.
It was like with the podcast of what Jeff promised. I was watching. He's like, tell me when there's a fight scene. I was like, okay, it's on right now. It's like, okay, that's what you watched. That was the length of Jeff watching.
It was a good fight scene.
But I finished the other day up to episode 24. I'm enjoying it because it feels like Naruto, but at the same token, it's missing that soul of what really Naruto is, which is the dynamic fighting and the kind of emotion that is with a lot of the characters. So what was it? Zabuza and Haku was episode 18, and that was gutting. Whereas we're at 24 now. I can't think of anything that really gutted me or made me even remotely feel sad. Which I'm not saying is bad, it didn't make me cry, but like even like the fighting scene, which I was super stoked about.
Nothing is heavy about it.
There's nothing heavy, but like even the fighting scene where I was really stoked and I was like, oh, come watch this. It lasted like a few minutes and I was like, oh, not even a few minutes. I was like, well, okay.
And then like when you get immediately that like Naruto was like, well, it's not like I was taking this seriously.
Yeah, it's just like, I'm not going to die. Like,
yeah, and Sasuke came in and, he did some cool stuff.
Don't say any more, because if people are watching, but needless to say, Sasuke and Naruto are fighting. Not with each other, but just fighting in general for some reason. And, they take a couple blows and you're like, I know he can take more, so I'm not worried. Yeah. So there's not really stakes, so you're like, well, I guess I'll wait.
Yeah, I mean, when the best part of it was,
actually, my favorite part was Sakura's badassery.
Oh, my favorite part was Kurama basically being like,
"Oh yeah, I love that too.
Why are you so slow? What's wrong, Naruto?"
I just love that cuts where he's just like, Kurama's like, "Let's cut loose, woo!" And he's like, "No, we're not doing that." He's like, "Oh." This has been forever since I got to like let her rip, and I was like, "Oh, it's so funny."
Yeah, and then no, I'm not. I won't say anything because that could spoil.
Yeah, don't say anything else.
Spoil the nature of the villainry, but
yeah, don't say anything.
I will continue to have you tell me what moments I need to watch.
Yes.
Because I'm probably more interested in Black Clover than I am in Boruto, which
and I'm the opposite.
I wouldn't have figured on. There's no stakes to it.
There's not so much stakes
Naruto
right now,
and Sasuke are gods. They're around. Nothing is going to happen.
It's more of like seeing the stakes with the kids now, seeing like who their parents are, what their abilities are, and you're seeing kind of like some of those new things be explored. Like you're seeing Sarada kind of getting her, I can't speak.
Sharingan.
Thank you. Getting her Sharingan and how that developed and so forth, but I don't want to say any more, honestly. So we'll leave it at that.
Boruto's little sister.
We'll leave it at that. So kind of developing those things what we didn't always get to see in the first like Naruto, where people started developing them and what brought them on. But yeah,
it feels to me like it's not as good as the Konoha 9 from the original Naruto. It just doesn't feel.
It's
like
not
that.
there yet. I still feel like it has a soul. It's just not the same soul as Naruto, which is a shame. But I feel like it has more to kind of. Yeah. Anyways, I'll leave it at that.
I don't know if we mentioned just in mentioning, not that this has anything to do with this particular season. I finished Ouran Host Club. Yay!
Yeah.
I liked it. That's like an 8.
Jeff was wishy-washy about how he really felt about it, but I loved Ouran High School Host Club. I've always loved it. There's so many great things working for it. I loved it.
I gave it an 8. It's fine. It's fun. It's a better version of what Konohana Kitan does.
Well, it was an early one of like you can't compare now to then. Like
Dragon Ball Z is an originator. I don't give it any credit over Naruto or My Hero Academia or anything. Those are better than Dragon Ball Z was.
Well, I don't know if you'd say that. You'd be like, well,
That's what I'd say. And then I catch the occasional episode of this because they're literally 2 minutes long. That you can watch
Aggressive Retsuko.
Aggressive Retsuko.
I've watched all until I'm on the 81st episode, so as much as it's been released so far. It's funny. I don't know what else to say. It's 2 minutes or so long. Reminds me of my friend. It's very to the point. It's kind of just joking around about office life, dealing with other people, and kind of the things that go on in your mind that you don't obviously say to others. And it's funny. Really, all I can say about it is
I'm just trying to think of a way that I could express it, but the only thing I could think of is something that I don't know how much of our audience would recognize, and that's
what's that?
It reminds me a lot of like when you read The Far Side, and it's like it just kind of hits you fast. It's like, ha, that's funny, and then you just go on with your day. Did you ever read Far Side?
No.
Far Side is there you go. Sugar doesn't even know it either. Far Side, it was kind of the originator of the whole one panel comic.
Oh, okay.
And it ran for years and years and years.
Was it like in the newspaper? Or?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, newspaper comic.
Then I might have seen it. I'm just gonna look it up really quick.
And yeah, that's just what it reminds me of. It's very fast. It's to the point. It just says something that you're kind of like, haha, that's funny. And then you go about your day.
About your day.
Because I don't, as far as I could tell, like, I feel like I've watched at least 12 episodes, just kind of, and looking over and being like, haha, that's funny. And then you go about your day.
Yes. I remember it now.
Yeah. Unlike Chi's Home, or Chi's New Address and everything, where it's an ongoing plot, I don't really think that happens with Aggressive Retsuko. I assume that there must be characters that kind of show up again. And
it has
always,
a bit of a line of plot in regards to like certain characters and what they're doing in this series, but for the most part it's very episodic and the plot really doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's the same. Like I said, Far Side. You read it, you're like, that's funny, and then you go about your merry way.
So yeah. Once I saw the comic on my phone, I knew right away what it was.
Yeah,
but
and that would be my take on it. But it's funny.
It's fun. Yeah.
I could see somebody deciding, like, you know what, once a day I'm just going to watch one of these. And it would give me a little chuckle, and then I'll...
Well, yeah, it's short. It's basically just watch it really quick and be on your way.
Yeah. There must be, like, a whole bunch of those kinds of anime, right?
Yeah, like, basically, because I started...
Cheese was the first one that I remember seeing. I was like, this is 2 minutes long. What's happening?
There's stuff before Chi. Like,
yeah.
I remember when I first started the channel, I thought, well, I'm going to do really quick, like, anime that you can watch. But they didn't really seem to get a lot of views, so I quit doing it. But there's several different types of anime that are, like, quote unquote 5 to 10 minute movies like you've seen. You're like, that's cheating. I'm like, I don't label them. I'm just watching it. Then there's ones like with 1, 2, 3 minute episodes, ones that are 7-minute episodes. Like, they just have different kinds. Like, off the top of my head, obviously, Aggressive Retsuko, Chi's New Address. Trying to think of some other short ones that I've watched recently. Lord Almighty. Of course, I can't think right now.
No, but I mean, it's interesting to me because you don't see that in Western television at all. You will see, like, even the shorts for Looney Tunes. Because I'm thinking, like, if you watch a half-an-hour episode of Looney Tunes, it's cut into essentially three cartoons. But then even then, they're 7 minutes apiece. And that's the only thing I can think of that does that, is the shorts from Looney Tunes. Mm-hmm. There are, like, I think Adventure Time is every, like, it's, 2 episodes in one. Mm-hmm. So those are designed to be about, 11 to 12 minutes long?
I honestly don't know. I've never really sat down and watched a full thing of Adventure Time. I've just seen it kind of on TV, and I'm like, oh, that's kind of funny, and then I go on with my life. I know a lot of people who love
more
it.
Anime to watch.
Yeah, that's basically, it's like, it's not anime, move on.
It's interesting that Western TV doesn't seem to do that. I think they would fill in that time with more commercials, I guess.
Yeah, that's mostly what we do. It came to a time when we did do that for a little bit, but I think maybe it's more of a Japanese thing where it's kind of like, well, we have time between these things happening, put it in between commercials or other shows that don't reach that full, 23-minute mark. Yeah. And just kind of fill it up. So yeah, I'm just looking at the list here. There's a bunch, but, it's harder to rate them because a lot of them don't have a lot of plot. They don't have a lot of substance. Some of them are just there to be, cutesy wootsy. Yeah. What was it? Let's take a quick look. What was it? Go 575. Trying to think off the top of my head here.
I found it interesting, but then...
Was it Iwa Katan or something? There's a bunch of them that kind of do that junk.
Yeah. I just find it an interesting difference in Western television versus Japanese television.
You're like, it's cheating, you're watching shorter episodes, and I laughed because I remember it was like Chi's New Address. I was like, yeah, maybe they're 3 minutes, but there's 140 of them.
I only said they were cheating because you were battling our wizard friend.
Oh, when we were having our battle.
To see who would be watching more anime.
I was like, I don't make the rules. If they say it's an episode, it counts.
So then,
I still
Sugar
won.
successfully has destroyed our wizard friend in terms of just overall, minutes.
Everything.
Hours watched and that sort of thing. But at the time when you were like, I'm going to watch more anime than you. And then he was like, I'll watch more episodes. And it was like, oh, there's the rub. Episodes.
So that's why
particular.
I watched more shows and watched more things. And I kept pushing the time limit because, I found, a lot of people, not a lot of people, I shouldn't say that, but, especially our friend, I found that, since he believed he watched more than me, he knew better than me.
Yeah.
And I don't like when people talk down to me like that. And I don't mean it on, I don't know how to say it. It's kind of like people just assume, well, you haven't watched as much as I do, so obviously you don't understand this. I'm like, I do understand it. Thank you for being a dick.
There is something to be said for... Just on a base level, you have watched more anime than I have. Therefore, you have more accumulated knowledge about the tropes of anime, about all sorts of things. There's nothing that...
But
there's not enough hours that you could watch that would trump my own personal take on things and what I enjoy and don't enjoy.
Thing. It's not like...
But it's your knowledge of the craft of anime is greater than mine because you've spent more time looking at it and studying it and appreciating it than I have.
And you can tell me if I've done this or not. I don't believe I have, where it's I don't belittle your thoughts though. I don't think that no. Because you haven't watched as much as me, your point isn't as valid. No. I felt like that's the way some people made me feel, and that's why I was I have to up my game.
You've never made me feel like that. I will say when
shit.
No. When it came to something like we were talking about earlier with Ouran Host Club, mm-hmm. and when I said this, I never once said it feels derivative, but I'm I've watched stuff that feels like this, and you're yeah, because this pioneered the genre. I'm okay, I'm sorry I didn't watch this first, but that
No. The thing I was getting upset about was the fact that I can't even say it pioneered it as much, 'cause I don't have that much extensive knowledge.
It introduced you to the
But
genre.
it introduced a lot of people and really pushed forward the idea of like the genre that it was and kind of the concepts and topics like were a really big deal at the time, like cross-dressing, homosexuality, like breaking the fourth wall, like tons of things that weren't like common. And
At
then
least
the way
not in what we have gotten in North America. At this point, we see that okay, this sort of stuff's been happening for a long time. It's just it was never localized.
And the thing that I was kind of getting mad with Jeff about it wasn't the fact that he was right or wrong about anything. It's just the fact that he's like, well, I've seen better things. I'm like, of course you have, because it came after. Like, you can't compare something that's like me saying like, oh, well, this is better because I watched it now versus like back in the day, which had like worse animation and worse this and that. Like, you can't compare the two. That's why I was getting so frustrated because you're like, I've seen things that are better. I know that's what we do, but I mean in the sense of like, when you're saying like, oh, this one is done better, it's like, of course. It's like saying My Hero Academia is better than this because it's like, of course My Hero Academia is better than like an earlier shonen because it's like honed all these concepts and made them more accessible, more like visually appealing.
It hasn't made Black Clover better.
I'm not touching that. It's like I'm done. But
no, but it's
that concept and like
saying,
you understand now, but at the time you're like, well, this is better. I was like, of course it's better because it came many years after and it honed all these like ideas where this was kind of like, okay, this is it, this is what we're presenting, and it was delightful and wonderful and lots of people love it. I love it. And
it's rated like, very highly on MAL.
It's very good. Like there's lots of things working for it, and like a lot of people are like, well, I've seen better. It's like, of course you probably have. You've seen a lot of other stuff that came after that developed these, like, what worked in the anime, what didn't work. Like, of course you're going to see that. So it wasn't like me necessarily demeaning your point of view. It's just the fact that I was like, of course it will be. Like, why are you saying this? You know better.
That's true.
That's true.
No, I'm just thinking about it on a more macro level and thinking about the fact that, like I said, I have a lot of 9s here. This season has been exceptional in comparison to like years past that I can think of, where I would feel like there was maybe 2 standout anime in a season, or even in like a year. Sometimes it's like, oh, that was the year that like these 2 came out, and that was great.
It's kind of like video games,
And now it feels like, holy crap, there's like 7 to 12 series that you have to watch this year.
Yeah, and I thought like Made in Abyss would be like it, and it was the top for me this year.
Yeah.
But then it's like, here's a lot of other contenders. I'm like, holy Toledo's, this is a good year.
But trying to do a top 10 this year is going to be bonkers. I have a general idea of things, let's even do it to a top 5. A top 10 I could probably do fairly decently. A top 5 from just the anime this year, like, there's going to be some cuts I make that are going to hurt me.
You forgot one to mention here. Inuyashiki.
Yeah, I was holding on to that to last.
Oh, you were?
I was, yeah.
I thought you forgot it because I was like, we moved on to something else.
Because, Inuyashiki is another one that I'm like, this could be the show of the season 2.
I put a gambling. I should say gambling. That sounds terrible. I put a fictitious bet on Inuyashiki being the one this season, but I said with a close kind of runner of like Magus's Bride, because I said I think each of them has something to offer, and it's very different from the other.
Yeah.
Like Inuyashiki, like even I thought I was like, okay, I know what to expect, and what was it, the 4th episode where I was like, that was dark.
The 4th episode had a huge tonal shift.
Yeah.
And then the 5th one came along and had a tonal shift from the 4th, but it was also different from the other 3. Like, it's just, everything is just kind of happening, and you're like, I don't know what to make of it anymore. There's so much going on, and all I know is that every single time I'm like, today is Inuyashiki Day. That makes me real happy.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And then, like, for the next 3 or 4 days, you hear the intro, and then you just have a few days of lull, and then back to the... Like, so good. Like,
that's a great intro.
God, it's so good.
It's at an 8.01 on my anime list. I can see why some people, especially after episode 4, would have been like, nope, hard quit.
Yeah, that was... This series is not meant for kids.
No.
100% not meant for kids. It is meant for adults.
If you're under 16 and you're listening to this, Inuyashiki will be great for you when you are 18.
Come back when you're older.
Come back when you're older.
No problems.
It is it's as deep as you want it to be, and it's as surface level as you want it to be.
Yeah.
You can get, like, Children of the Whale has an accessibility issue where if you're not interested in the heavy stuff they're talking about, you're gonna miss.
You're kind of
Girls Last Tour. If nothing else, it is also like really cutesy, and it's got
simplistic.
that sort of style going for it.
Yeah.
So at a surface level, you can appreciate it.
Yeah.
Inuyashiki is both this tremendous look into what is humanity, and then also this surface level, like, good versus evil.
And that's the thing I
combat.
like, that it's taking a question that's been posed many, many times before. It's like, if you were given an insane amount of power, what would you do? And even that's taking that concept and being like, how far would you go? Like, what is the limit? Is there no limit? And it's like, things that you never think about, possibly. Like, there are things that I've thought about where it's like, okay, if I had endless powers, obviously I'd do this, this, this. But it's like, would that be enough? When would enough be enough? Can you stop yourself before enough, or will someone else stop you? And that's such an interesting concept, and I've always loved that idea. And it's so, it gets very dark. Like, second episode made me cry. I've talked to a couple other people that have gotten the eye sweats going on, and it's very hard hitting, and it's very intense. It's very honest about what it wants to do, what it wants to say. It's not going to hold back just because you might not like it. It covers things from, like, quick topics like sex, drugs, murder, bullying, like everything. Like, it's dark. It shows, like, the good and bad in humanity. And I'm kind of happy that it kind of is brave enough to kind of point a finger and say, this is what a human is.
Yeah.
And I know it's based on a manga. I haven't had the chance to read it yet.
I don't want to.
At this point, I don't want to. I want to be surprised.
Whereas,
Whereas, like, me, Made in Abyss, I read as far as I could go, and I'm like, oh, like, I wanted to curl up on the ground and be like, I need answers. But,
I tend to let the anime at least run its season before I jump in again.
Usually that's me too.
That's what I did with My Hero Academia as well.
As soon as I finished the first season, it became like an impulse where I just started reading. Like, you saw me all day and night with, like, the book. I'm like, I just gotta read the next one.
See, I did the same thing with Naruto after a while. Where I was like,
I can't help it.
We're so far ahead now. I want it.
Yeah.
I want it.
That's
I
the
want
thing.
this, and I read that.
And I read that.
I'm caught up to date on My Hero Academia, and I'm very happy about that.
So happy.
You know, I don't have a funny name for him. Matt.
What?
Matt has also now caught up on My Hero Academia.
You shouldn't have used its real name.
They don't know that it's his real name.
Except for now.
I could be pulling your leg. But yes,
Matt. Sorry, Matt.
After I had told him, because he asked me, because first of all, I was the one who told him about My Hero Academia. And I was like, this is going to be up your alley. He's like, okay. And he watched it. He's like, this is really good. I was like, you should read because it just continues to improve. And he was like, really?
I'm just going to leave this
And so, I spoke with him today, and he's like, yeah, I'm caught up. Like, oh my god, that's good.
It's so good.
Yeah.
It's so, I cannot emphasize it enough.
I can't have that happen with Inuyashiki. I can't.
That's like Jeff is like watching like a silent show when he watched me read like Made in Abyss. And I was just like sitting there and I'd be like smiling, then just like insta sobbing. It was just like
I just look over, I'm like, something bad happened.
It's just like, don't tell me. And I was like, oh.
I want to talk to you about it, but I won't. But yeah, I mean, Inuyashiki, I'm not going to read it because I want to keep all of that a secret as to what exactly happens. I thought that it was maybe done. Like, I thought the manga was maybe done at this point.
I thought it was ongoing, but I don't know. I can double check really quickly while we're talking.
But either way, it's brilliant in the sense that it kind of delivers something for everybody, which when you have something on MAL that is over an 8, I feel that it must deliver on more than one sort of niche. There has to be something kind of exceptional about it. as good as something like Konohana.
Oh yeah, it looks like it's, from what I can see, it looks like it finished in July of this year, and there's 10 volumes, 85 chapters.
Like
It's, oh yeah, status right there, it's finished. So
yeah, so they have a story to tell, and maybe we'll get that in the 12 episodes. Maybe it'll go a little bit
I don't think
longer.
it'll be answered in 12 episodes, just based on, you know, just looking at this year, like it says 10 volumes,
So
I
like,
highly doubt it would be
If I
answered.
started reading, I would just not stop until it was finished, and then I'd be like, wow, now what? But yeah, it hits a number of different niches very well. It has the only thing I can really say negative about it is that some of the CG they use is not my personal favorite.
Like I said, that was when I first started. That was a hard kind of thing to get over, because almost everything that has that kind of, I want to call it kind of laggy CG, where it's not like fluid. Yeah. It just kind of makes me turned off right away, and I just say I don't want to watch it. Because that's what I said to you. I was like, I don't want to watch it if it's going to be like this. And then it delivered really well in the first episode of what it was hoping to do. And so I said, fine, I'll keep watching. And now I'm stuck. That's my life.
And that's my life.
But yeah, that's the only thing I could complain is kind of the animation with the CG. I wish they would have been able to draw it all, or however they would have liked to have developed it.
I feel like they do it in a way that they only use CG for specific
It's
parts,
not ugly or anything.
Sense.
I shouldn't. Well, there are some ugly shots, but it's kind of like when it goes more so when it's the robotics parts where it kind of goes into ugly sometimes. But it's nothing where I'd be like, I can't watch it. But
like that other one.
The Land of the Lustrous, isn't that it or something?
Yeah.
Sorry if I'm not saying it correctly. I know one of the viewers was mad I couldn't remember the title, but we watched so much. I'm so sorry. I never mean to demean anything. I literally just am tired and I don't remember. And I don't remember everything because seasons meld together and my life just becomes a pot of anime.
And,
Which I thoroughly love.
It's a nice gumbo, but
it's a wonderful gumbo.
When you add everything together, sometimes individual ingredients, you just kind of forget they're there.
I'll even look it up right now so no one will be upset. Yes, it's called Land of the Lustrous.
Yeah.
So I was correct.
It could have some of the best story.
It is so funny because I was on Reddit, I think I told you, and it made me die. I laughed so hard. Somebody posted, I'm not going to say who because I don't even remember. Somebody posted where it's like, you should give Land of the Lustrous a chance, and wrote like basically kind of like this essay, and right away somebody commented with a gif that's like, at least you can say you try. No one can tell you you didn't try. And I just laughed so hard because I'm like, I get it where you're trying to tell people to watch it, but when it looks like that, you're not getting many people to come to your side.
Lots of people disagree with this statement, but it's anime, and if you don't like the animation style, it's a huge shot against. And for something that's as loaded as what anime is lately, it's not worth your time to watch something that you don't enjoy it in motion.
And that's the thing, the last year I've become more accustomed and understanding to the fact where it's like, I'll just drop things. Where it's like, I never wanted to. I'm like, I've committed to this, I'll finish it. Where it's like, why do I have to keep watching crap or things I don't enjoy? Because, like, it's like, why should I continue watching it? There's no point. I'm not getting any joy out of it. It seems kind of just forcing me to do it. Because I know somebody, I won't call them out or anything, but basically mentioned about how I didn't like Food Wars. Nothing is inherently bad about it in the sense of animation or anything like that, but it's just something that I don't enjoy. I don't enjoy orgasmic food and people's clothes exploding. Like, it's not my cup of tea.
I think the most telling thing about that, and it's a way, I guess, to understand MAL a little bit more, is that with how highly rated it is, it doesn't have as many viewers. So I think is what you were saying, right?
For what? Sorry?
For Food Wars.
What was I saying?
I believe that you were looking at the amount of people who have it as they're viewing it right now.
Right.
And that number isn't higher than a lot of other anime.
I think it was like top 10, but definitely not top 3 or anything for like viewage numbers.
Yeah, and so
I'd have to actually look again, but
it hits a niche that obviously it scratches that itch for those people. Mm-hmm. But the people who don't like it, they're just not watching it. They don't rate it. So it is rated very highly, but it seems like it's being rated by people who are, huge fans of it. And that's the same thing with any sort of aggregate review place, typically, is that you're going to, Most of the time, people are only going to review something if they're elated by it or if they're really pissed off by it. That's if you look at something like Rate MD or something, doctors are either a 5 out of 5 or a 0. Nobody ever goes on there and it's like, yeah, they were fine. They were 3.5.
I don't remember what numbers I was looking up the other day, but I was trying to look really quickly. But it has a decent viewership. It's just the fact of, I don't remember what stats I was looking up the other day. Honestly, cannot remember for the life of me.
But there was a stat where it seemed like not as many people are watching it, but it's rated very highly.
Like Magus' Bride is being watched more than that. Oh no, it wasn't Food Wars. That was Gintama. I said.
Oh. Okay.
Like Food Wars has a decent watching and viewership. It was Gintama. I said I was surprised, but at the same token, there's so much there. I'm assuming not as many have been following it continuously.
Yeah.
No, Food Wars has that audience. It's just something that's not my cup of tea. Like, It doesn't. Like I think I put for sure I watched the first episode, but I don't remember if I watched the second one, so I didn't put down that I did. But it's basically like there's a story which kind of seems wonky and it doesn't seem to jive. Like, I guess I can give a couple spoilers for the first episode. It's like, oh, somebody wants to close down the restaurant. Well, because he cooked something good, they wouldn't close it down, which is just not realistic. And I know it's not meant to be in reality, so to speak, but I need to be grounded somewhere. If it's not reality, just somewhere. Yeah. But, and then it's just like people eat the food, they have orgasms, they have clothes that explode off of them. And I'm not saying it's bad. People can like it. I'm just saying I'm not one of those people. It's like the same
neither
people.
am I.
It's like people with Girls Last Tour. I'm not mad that you don't like it. I know there's people who don't like it. It's not everyone's cup of tea. Not everyone's gonna love everything. And it's just like people just jump on you for not liking Food Wars, or like I didn't like the second season of Attack on Titan. It was like, oh my god, you're the worst human being. It's like I have a differing opinion. Calm your tits, like.
Or DSRA, which
DSRA. That's a little bit different. Like I said, they paid and they asked for I can't speak.
It was crowdfunded.
It's crowdfunded. Yeah. People paid. They wanted to see it. They loved the visual novel. They didn't get what was delivered. I can understand that animosity and people being like, give it a chance. And I can't give the anime a chance because it's terrible. The visual novel at one point, I'm sorry. The visual novel at some point, I will give the chance because I feel like it deserves at least that.
Yeah.
But I haven't had the time, as you can probably guess. But like, Food Wars has a good viewership. People love it. I don't know unless like somebody paid me to watch it. I don't think I'd ever watch it.
And here's the difference between you and I think.
I can be paid off.
No. I think in some special cases, I would almost take offense when people don't like something that I think is exceptionally high quality. I wouldn't be like necessarily personally offended, as more of like, I don't know if I can trust your opinion then.
It's one of those things where it's not like, how can I explain it? If somebody said to me they didn't like Steins Gate and I asked why and they didn't have a good reason, I knew I couldn't trust their opinion.
Yeah.
Just in the sense of knowing quality. If you can say you don't like it, that's one thing. If you say it's bad and you can't really back it up why it's bad, I can't really take your opinion at face value, so to speak. If you tell me you don't like Steins Gate, but you see that it was good and it has qualities, like, I can understand why some people like Food Wars. There are qualities there that make it watchable for people, not myself. And I think that's okay.
It's all at the end of the day, it's all fan service. And fan service either does really well or it doesn't.
And that's fine. There's lots of things I've watched as fan service, but I guess I have like a criteria. Like Konosuba I watched, had fan service. I tolerated it. Watched Prison School, had fan service. It was fine. I guess porn and food mixed together. It's not porn, but you know what I mean? Like, naked sexual arousal and food just don't go hand in hand for me. It's just kind of like, I enjoy food. I don't give it a sexy time.
But I mean, like, it's so interesting because we both really liked Restaurant to Another World last season, and that didn't hit for a lot of people. It shows like joy, getting absolute
a lot of people
splendor
are like,
from food.
Yeah,
but it never went to the point of like, I am aroused due to this food.
Yeah,
and I think we appreciated that.
And like, some people might get offended, like Jeff said, if somebody says that they don't like it, like, I can't get offended because everyone has different tastes. And if they say to me, like, a lot of people have been at conventions for different things, and people come up and be like, you know what, I love SAO, and I'm like, that's okay. Like, I am not one of those people, but I understand why you like it. And I'm not going to hate on you because of it. It's not like I've heard people literally screaming at each other. It's like, that's bad and you should feel bad. You like SOB. Like, I would never do that. Like,
No,
I understand that we have differences. I understand this is a huge community. And obviously, like, anime is going to hit for different communities. It's like Natsume's Book of Friends. When I was really into it, a lot of people weren't. And now it's kind of hit more like mainstream. And a lot of people are liking it now. But it's not for everybody. That's the thing. And it's like, if somebody said to me, which I have heard, where it's like, Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood is shit. And I'm like, why? And they're like, well, it just is. I'm like, I can't take you seriously. Because you're not giving me, like, substantial evidence. If you're just like, well, I didn't like it because I didn't like the historical kind of, like, war aspect of it. And I'm like, okay, I'll recommend you something that's more up your alley. But it's like...
I don't like anime with conflict.
Yeah.
And you don't like most of anime.
You'll like Slice of Life. No.
Yeah. You'll like Your Lie in April. Do you like to cry? No?
There's conflict in that too, so...
I mean...
Kid and his mom.
Not like
there was shit on... Yes, it was. She hit him across the face.
That's not really combat. That's somebody getting slapped.
That's conflict.
No.
You never said combat. You said conflict. There's a difference. Anywho, I'm just saying, don't get so mad at people. That's the moral of the story. People love different things. You know, I get really surprised when people get that worked up, where like they're willing to hurt or scream or demean you. Like somebody right away was demeaning over the fact that I mentioned that I didn't watch or continue watching Food Wars, and right away I'm a stupid idiot sort of thing. And like I don't see the point of like name calling people. I think that's kind of below humankind. Like I don't see
childish,
the need. It's
for sure.
like I don't see the need to go out of your way to be mean to somebody. This is supposed to be a community. You are allowed to have your opinions, and you shouldn't be belittled because of your opinions. That's just my opinion. I know years to come, if I keep doing videos, I'll hear like, you're stupid, you're dumb, blah 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 blah.
And I'm sure your reaction to that will be, you are free to have your
you're
opinion,
free to have your opinion.
Loser.
No. It's kind of like...
I'm pretty sure if somebody is demeaning towards you, you can probably call them a loser.
You can, but it's not the appropriate thing to do. You don't meet assholery with assholery. You're just like, you know what, kill him with kindness, be the better person, but hey.
That's fair, I suppose.
That's what my grandpappy always taught me, but to each their own.
As your wonderful hubby, I'll just go beat them up. I will find you, Vegeta 1, 2, 3, in wherever you're.
He just made up a name, by the way. He does not exist.
Well, no, I'm pretty sure there's a Vegeta 1, 2, 3.
Well, obviously, but I mean, that's not the person I was referring to. No. Don't go looking for a Vegeta 1, 2, 3. Oh my god.
That's how Silent Bob ended that movie. That was hilarious.
I haven't watched that in so long. But anyways, we're getting way off track.
It's
Moral of the story, it's been a good season. Don't belittle others. You can love what you love.
I cannot in any way imagine anything beating out Made in Abyss as the new, you know...
Well, because the new season starts in January, so this year's basically done.
Yeah. I'm just like, My Hero Academia Season 2 versus
Made in Abyss was better.
Made in Abyss
was better.
I think so, too. But I was just, I sometimes in my mind tend to separate ongoing, like, oh, this is a season 2 or season 3 from something that's fresh. So to me, like, oh, Made in Abyss is the best original anime of the year. My Hero Academia season 2 is the best ongoing. I kind of
you can do it categorically
mind.
Like that. I just mean if you're doing like one versus the other, Made in Abyss has a clear winner for me. Like, don't get me wrong, I've always said it and I'll continue to say it, My Hero Academia, I love it with a great passion. But when you compare the two, it's different leagues. You know what I mean? Yeah. We said right away, Made in Abyss is Ghibli levels of art. It is beautiful. The characters are delightful. The story is interesting.
It's a 10.
The sad moments are gut-wrenching. The emotion is real.
So yes, if you were hoping for something to eclipse Made in Abyss, it's not happening.
It's not happening this season.
You have a lot of excellent choice this season, though.
Yeah.
And that's with just what we've been watching, never mind. Like I said, if Food Wars is your thing, apparently it's very, very Food Wars.
It's very, very Food Wars.
Food Wars is the best Food Wars has ever been. Gintama is continuing their streak
parody.
of being fantastic.
One day I'll sit down and maybe watch all of it.
It looks like Kino no Tabi is kind of splitting the viewership
base,
a bit.
yeah.
Some people are like, I like the new stuff. The other ones
the
are the original or we riot. So
again, intense fans.
So yeah, I've got a few 9s on the go, and you know what? In 6 or 7 weeks' time, we'll maybe coalesce again and talk about what was the show of the season.
Because I think really the two everything has about 12 or 13 episodes this season, except for Black Clover and what was the other one? There was another one.
Oh, I mean, Boruto is continuing on.
Yeah, maybe Boruto. Not forever. It'll have its season, then go into another one, kind of like Naruto, and then Naruto ship it in and all that other just good stuff. Let's take a quick look while we're talking.
I mean, Aggressive Retsuko will continue
That'll
to
probably
be around for a long time as well.
I think it's... Well, I shouldn't say that. I was about to say, I think it's done in December. I can check really quickly. Aggressive Retsuko. Does it have an end date? Take a look. No, it doesn't. Take a look.
Never ends.
Inside a book. If you don't know, that's Reading Rainbow. It's a long time ago.
Not that long ago. But...
It was a long time ago. So yeah, Boruto is still going. Aggressive Retsuko. Yeah, then we have Black Clover that's slotted for, I think, 51 or 54.
I think it's 51, like we were talking about it earlier.
Yeah, I think so. I'll double check just so viewers know. Yeah, 51. So.
But I know personally, I would absolutely love to hear what your anime of the season is so far.
Yeah.
If you agree with us, great. If you disagree with us, that's even better, because that's the way we hash out all these
I love
sorts
to
of
know
things.
how you feel. Maybe no name calling would be great. But
yeah.
But hey.
Or I'll come and no.
Oh God. Anywho, yeah, let us know how you're viewing things, what you've been loving, what you've been watching, if it's in season, out of season. Like lately I finished Prison School and trying to wrap up Nanbaka. I've been doing other things. Yeah, let me know how it's going.
I don't know if I'm watching. I mean, I just finished. Mentioned Ouran Host Club. That's definitely out of season. I don't know if I'm watching anything out of season currently.
I know you started at Akka with me, but we really haven't given it much attention.
No, there's too much other stuff for
There's
that.
been a lot of other things going on. And and I've watched a couple other things. But if you want to take a look, just look on my MAL. I try and keep it up to date. I've tried to go back and look at some of the stuff I've even dropped and added that in the list. Yeah. So, thank you again for joining me, Jeff.
Yeah, no problem. That's all I want. Before the new year, hopefully all of these will be done, and we could have like a, December 30th podcast that's all about what was great in the year. If the best from this year was better than the best from last year.
Maybe we'll talk about that.
That would be awesome.
Well,
Top 10 countdown for 2016.
I'm sure
for 2017. Jeez. Wow. I'm getting my years all.
I'm sure we'll reconvene before the end of the year. I'll try to do my best. You can let me know if there's videos you want to see. There's things I've been trying to get done, but whether it be like illness or what have you, or just life, I haven't been able to get the exact recordings I wanted to get done. There's certain analysis, but my brain's been in a fog. But yeah, anyways, thank you so much for joining us. Love you all. And until next time, we'll see you later.